As many of y'all probably know, Lady Gaga went on tour for her album Mayhem in the end of last year, all the way through the beginning of this year. And she actually came through Austin in March. And I was already planning to go just as a spectator, and I was going to make my own outfit for the concert as well. And I was also contacted by Ryan, who is our local Lady Gaga impersonator. She impersonates all sorts of people, but she's especially great at doing Gaga. And I've actually worked with Ryan before. Last year, she was my model for Fashion Week. So I have a whole video on how I made the look for her for Fashion Week. But this time we're going to be doing a Lady Gaga look. We have a company here in town that does this really cool thing where they will bring local drag performers and have them dress as the person who is performing to the Moody Center. And so the people who are going to the concert get an opportunity to take pictures with drag queens who are dressed like whoever they're going to see perform. So that is what I'm making this for. There were a whole bunch of girls that went before the Gaga concert, all dressed in different types of Gaga outfits. Ryan wanted me to make the quintessential outfit that Gaga wears during the Mayhem Ball, which is that pleated red velvet coat. So that's what I'm going to be working on in this video. This was an especially interesting and fun challenge, so let's dive right into how I made it. To start, I need to make my patterns, and I've already started by doing my classic duct tape method, which is wrapping the person in duct tape and sketching out the shape of whatever you're trying to make onto that. Now that I have my duct tape pieces, I need to transfer that over to paper, so I'm going to lay that down as carefully as I can and trace each piece. I'm also going to add seam allowances and then use my tailoring curve to smooth out any edges that are a little too rough. And to create the pattern piece for the front, I added an extension that will make the front come together into a point. I wanted to give the top a sturdy base for the pleats to attach to, so I am cutting out 2 front panels out of some faux suede that I already had in my stash. And now the trickiest and most time-consuming part of the entire project can begin. So I decided to pre-pleat the fabric in advance. That way I could just take my pattern pieces and put them straight down, and then that way all the lines would line up when I cut all the fabric out. This ended up being a great idea and worked out really, really well, but it was very time-consuming. And at the beginning, it took a little bit of time to get used to how it all worked out, but the fabric was great for this because it stuck to itself. So the pleat stayed in place a little bit more easily than some other fabrics would have. Once I had pleated enough fabric, I then took the foundation pieces and laid them down and angled them away from one another. That way, when I cut out the pleated fabric, the lines will angle up instead of being flat across. And I used just an absolutely absurd amount of pins because I did not want these foundation pieces to move. And as I was cutting, I just took my time and went really slow so I didn't disrupt any of the pleats while I was cutting. Now that the foundation pieces are pinned to the pleated pieces, I'm going to sew around the outside edge to lock the pleats into place. When it was time to sew the outside edge, I pinned the pleats back in place to make sure they aligned perfectly with the front center edge. It is bright and early the next day, and we've reached kind of a really important part of the project here where I have both of the front panels put together, and I'm really happy with how the folding all came together. This was really challenging. Oh my God. It was just terrible. I mean, the folding the fabric in the first place was just, there was a big learning curve to it, but then I got in a flow and it was fine after a while. I just had to figure out exactly how I was going to do that. And then trying to lay this backing piece, which thank goodness I did this because that made my life so much easier. But laying that down and then pinning it to the fabric in a way where none of the pleats were going to come out. And then you have to sew it with the pleats in place. And then I had to leave the outside edges, so like this edge and then all that is still raw because that's going to attach to the back. But I have to like sew it to keep it all together. So it was just a lot. And but luckily this is the hardest part of the whole thing. And I still have some fabric set aside that is already pleated to make the tops of the sleeves. So my goal today is to just put these together with the back pieces. And I think you can see, I don't think you'll be able to see the line, but I have this pinned right here. I'm going to sew 2 lines down because that is where the pyramid studs go anyway. So I'm going to sew a line just to kind of, you know, keep everything together. That should make it really, really solid so that none of the pleats come out. And then I will have a line already set for where the pyramid studs will go once we get to that point. So I'm going to go ahead and put together the bodice part of it, and then I'm going to make the sleeves. So I'm going to go ahead and get to sewing. I hope we're going to make really good, I know we're going to make really good progress today because the first fitting's in 2 days. Although it's only 2 lines, this has got to be some of the most stressful sewing of this entire project is sewing these 2 lines right down the front of this bodice. So to do this, I'm just going really slow and using my hands to smooth out the pleats as I go. To begin making the sleeves, I started with the top part that's going to be the pleated section, and I'm sort of just going off of the pictures as best I can. I can't really tell exactly how big this is, but I'm sort of making like a crescent shape, and that is going to be the top of the sleeve. And just like I did for the front of the bodice, I'm using that faux suede to make foundation pieces that will help me to keep those pleats in place. Now that the top of the sleeve is made, now I need to measure it so I can make the rest of the sleeve pattern. So I'm going to measure the outside edge, and that will help me to know how big the opening of the new sleeve needs to be. And to make the sleeve pattern, I'm using that measurement that I took of the shoulder piece, the arm length, and then her wrist measurement. To put the sleeves on, I decided to do the shoulder cap first and then attach the sleeve piece afterward. I just thought that'd be a little bit easier because the sleeve piece matches the overall armhole opening with the shoulder piece attached. So now that the sleeves are on, let me show you what we're looking at right now. So you can see there's like the little pleated top of the sleeve and then the big billowy sleeve. and the front. I don't have any of the spikes or the pyramid studs here yet, which is kind of concerning. So I'm going to look and see when those will be here, and that's going to make a huge difference, I think. Is the shoulder shape exactly perfect? No. I was literally losing sleep over this last night because I was like, that shoulder shape is just not right. And here's the thing, y'all. As much as it kills me for it to not be like a photo copy of the original, because I would need more time to develop the pattern to get that shape, but like we just don't have time. So I just have to find something that looks good enough and move on. That's where we're at with it. So I think it looks really, really good. And I think once the studs are all on, and I'm going to make the little skirt piece that goes underneath as well, I think it's going to be extremely clear what it is. Just if you also struggle with perfectionism, just know that I'm right there with you, but I think we're on a great path. So the fitting is later today. It's in a couple of hours. So I'm going to get ready for that, and then we'll see how everything fits. I have a feeling, keeping my fingers crossed, that it's going to fit great. We won't really need to make any adjustments, and I can just keep moving forward with construction. Okay, good morning. It's the next day. Fitting went great. She loved it, which makes me feel so much better about everything after my crash out about the shoulders yesterday. We actually had a conversation about perfectionism because we both suffer from it. So she's really happy with everything we have going on so far. I will say it was a little too tight. So I'm going to have to go in and open up the side seams, and I'm going to add a 1-inch strip on either side just to give a little bit more room so it fully comes around to close. But that's the only change. So I'm going to start with that, and then I've got a list of things to do today. So I did get in the spikes and the studs for her. So we're doing these humongous, almost 3-inch spikes. So these are the spikes that I'm going to be using for the sleeves. This is what's called a tree spike. I got these off of studsandspikes.com. They're based out of Seattle. So I got all the pyramid studs and all of the spikes from them. Really great company if you need something like this. They have a huge variety of things, and the shipping's pretty quick. So this is what we're going to be using for the shoulders. And then I also have these big, huge 1-inch pyramid studs. So these will be on the front of the outfit. There's 2 different sizes of pyramid studs. So this will be the larger. And then I just ordered a little bit smaller one because we didn't realize these were going to be so big. Pretty straightforward stuff. I'm just going to start ticking things off. It's early in the day and I'm just focused on this today. So hopefully we can we will make amazing progress today. To start off with my alterations, I need to make the panels that are going to go into the side. So because I want them to have a finished width of 1 inch, I'm going to cut them at 2 inches. That way I have a 1/2 inch seam allowance on either side. To make the part that I'm calling the skirt, I had to do a little bit of complicated math. So when you make pleats, you multiply the length of your fabric by 3 because that's how much gets taken up into the pleat. So I took Ryan's waist measurement and multiplied it by 3, and that will be the total length of this piece. The finished skirt also comes down in a point, and the back of it is all one length. So to create the point in the front, I measured how long I wanted it to be and then had that connect back up into the skirt at the point where the side seam will be. Okay, before I start cutting, let me give y'all an idea of what is actually going on here. So this entire piece is 45 inches, but it's folded in half. So total, it's 90. The front part has to be longer, and then it slopes up, and then it wraps around the back, and the back is all the same length. So because I have this folded in half, this will be the fronts of both. So I cut here, go along here, and then when I pleat it, this will all be long to the hip, or sorry, to the side seam, and then that will wrap around to the other side seam, and then it will come back down here. Hope that makes sense. Before I start pleating this piece, I'm going to finish all the edges by using Stitch Witchery. This will give it a really nice clean finish without leaving any sort of marks with thread. Once all the edges were finished, I can now start pleating the skirt. So I am folding the pleats about 2 inches wide, and I'm sort of just eyeballing this. Whatever looks visually correct is what I'm going with. And I opted to hand sew in the skirt, so I'm lining it up with the waist of the jacket and then pinning it in place. And now for the fun part where the whole project comes together. I'm finally putting on all of the hardware, so I'm going to start with the shoulder spikes. I'm spacing these about 1.5 inches apart, and once I find the spot that I want it to go in, I'm using my seam ripper to seam rip just one little stitch so that the bolt that goes into the bottom of the spike can fit through. Once I have the screw in place, I'm using just a regular needle and thread to sew up that hole just to make it super, super tight so the screw does not come out, and then I can use a screwdriver to put the screw into the spike. And for the last detail that I need to make, I'm going to make the collar and the cuff pieces, and I'm making these out of armature wire and lace. And to make the wire pieces that are going to actually give this the shape that I want, I am measuring out how tall I want it to be, and then just sharply bending it down and creating that jagged shape by bending the wire. And once I was happy with my wire shape, I then was ready to attach the lace, and I am putting on hot glue and then just gently pressing the lace into it so it sticks. Okay, so I have now created my little cuff pieces and then the piece for the collar. Really happy with these. I know they look a little funky right now because they're just like so flat, but once they're like bent all crazy, I think they're gonna make a lot more sense. So I did end up using a smaller gauge wire for the cuffs, which I think I was going to just try and use the same wire, but I think that this was a good idea that it was smaller because these pieces are so much smaller. So I'm going to start to attach these now. I think these were the last things that I have to like make, and now it's just a matter of putting everything together, putting the closures on, all that good stuff. So like finishing details. So the next series of things is going to be a lot of hand sewing. So let's start by attaching the cuffs and kind of go from there. To attach both the collar and the cuff pieces, I intentionally left a little bit of lace on the bottoms that I could wrap around where I was going to be attaching them, and then I just hand sewed through both layers, making sure that they were really, really secure on the garment. To attach the pyramid studs, they all had prongs on the back of them that luckily just went through the fabric very, very easily. So all I had to do was line up the stud where I wanted it to go and then press the prongs through, and then I could fold them over with my fingers. Because we're going for such a dramatic shape in the shoulder, I have to make a custom shoulder pad that will hold everything up, especially because with the spikes added, it's quite heavy. So I am using the shape that I used to make the top of the shoulder to make an insert that is going to be padded to hold the shoulder up. Finally, after all my hard work, I finally got to do the one step I'd been looking forward to the most in starting this project, which is putting all the hardware onto the front of the jacket. And as one final step for all of the pyramid studs, I did go back in and add a little bit of hot glue to the backs of the prongs just to make sure that none of them fell out. This was such an interesting and challenging project to do, and honestly, I know it's not absolutely photo perfect. That's probably just my perfectionism talking, but I am really happy with how close it was to the original, and I just have to say major props to the people that work on her costume team who made all those costumes in the first place, because I'm sure they have to have multiples of every single thing that you see. So just major kudos, not just to this team, but to every team who works on these big costume projects like this that you just have to have like all hands on deck. I got a little taste of that with this, and I just have to give kudos where they are due. Ultimately, I'm so happy with the methods and things I came up with to get the finishes that I was looking for. Ryan loved it, which is always the most important thing, and I think the Gaga illusion was just very extremely clear. And a really cool thing, which maybe if y'all know more about Lady Gaga, you can tell me more about this, but photos of that night got posted on her website, and Lady Gaga herself commented on one of the pictures that was posted of Ryan wearing the outfit that I made. And my friend who's like super Lady Gaga stan of all time said that that is actually Gaga who makes those comments. So the fact that she even laid her eyes upon something that I made that was meant to look like what she actually wore during the concert is just mind-blowing beyond anything that I can even put into words. So just really thankful for this opportunity, and it was such a cool project that I learned so much from. And I do still have a video coming for the outfit I made for myself. That'll be my next video. So if you have any sort of questions, comments, anything like that about this particular project, want to know more about how I made it, anything like that, happy to answer those questions in the comments, and I will see y'all on my next video. Bye.